and welcome to episode 16 of the Nordic Takedown podcast. Today it's just Adam and me here. Say hello, Adam.
Hello.
And we're gonna continue what we started last week. It's gonna be a little bit of a shorter episode, but we're gonna take a look at Command. And of course, there's been so many spoilers, so we might have time for some spoilers at the end of the episode. I think we're just jumping straight into it. Adam, what have you been up to?
Not too much Star Wars related. Played a little bit here with my local friend from time to time. Other than that, I had a surgery in my mouth, a tooth surgery yesterday. One of the reasons we are going to go a little bit shorter because it hurts when I'm talking.
Yeah.
But we're powering through. What have you been up to, Jonah? Slash Greedo.
Good question, actually. What have I? I've been enjoying some vacation time, and yesterday, so we're recording this on the Tuesday, so Monday this week, I actually started in a new summer internship. So that's been great, getting to know other students there and getting to know the projects I'm going to be working on. Super excited. And actually, I met some Swedish interns as well. They flew over from Stockholm, so that was super nice. But of course, I'm so stoked for the new set. I feel like there has been more spoilers than the previous weeks. So it's always fun to get that Discord notification, seeing new cards. If you aren't already in the Discord, join the Nordic Takedown Discord. We have a spoiler channel there where all of the new cards are posted, and sometimes they tend to start some discussions. So that's always fun.
Yep, you know that there is either a really bad card or a really good card when the discussion starts.
Yeah. I think this next set for sure is interesting. People in general, I feel like, have been a little bit underwhelmed with the leaders, but we have seen a lot of powerful cards. Like especially like cards in even common and uncommon slots that just seem really like staples that we're gonna see played.
Agreed.
But this episode we have something else on the agenda. Last week we started discussing the 4 aspects. So we covered vigilance.
Yep.
And we didn't really have a big plan behind it. We just thought it would be a fun thing to do before the next set. So we're gonna just talk through what we think about command for this one, and also, of course, looking at new command cards that we're excited about.
Yeah.
Okay, Adam,
let's dive in.
Do you feel about command, like, in general?
So in general, if we're just discussing kind of the first set, I would say it was a very good like the staple support color, basically. You wanted green in the deck because of either the ECL in the beginning, the lab, which meant that you did not want to run any of the leaders because in the beginning double color was real bad, and double green is still probably the worst, like double color. So that made it like when everyone wanted to run ECL at everything, it made it like the true supportive color. And I still think it is, but now it's broadened out a little bit. But I still think it's a main supportive color.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree with a lot of what you said there. I'm not sure if it's the weakest, like, double aspect. I definitely feel like the double aspect cards in green aren't really that good. But it could kind of be viable, maybe going double green, because, as you said, Energy Conversion Lab is so nice, especially in combination with some cards. Like, in the beginning, everything thought if you play green, you want to play this base.
Yeah.
But then when we saw really aggressive decks kind of becoming a staple, then we realized, okay, giving up that 5 health is not going to work in all
Yeah.
matchups. But I think, as you mentioned, green is like a super staple color, and I think first and foremost because they have so many nice units, and I
Yes.
feel like a lot of the game is just resolving around playing units and getting good trades. And then secondary, having like a monopoly on ramp.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like
That's
resupply is one of the best cards in the game, right? And
yeah,
it's almost reason enough to play green.
yeah,
But on top of that, they have, as you said, really good, especially late game units, right? Like with the Vader, Home One, Relentless.
yeah,
You also have like U-Wing reinforcements, Home One, Bright Hope. Like
yeah.
they have so many good things.
They do.
Walker
Yeah,
reinforcement,
reinforcement walker.
uh, which and the heroes are not really matching up to that strength. Like in the color, the we are getting some new leaders that are interesting, especially like new Boba Fett, I think.
Yeah,
Uh, but aside from Emperor Palpatine, like Grand Moff Tarkin, Hera Syndulla, and Leia Organa has been a little bit underwhelming uh,
yeah.
in set one, at least. Even though I think Leia had her like small window, uh,
Mm,
but Tarkin and Syndulla has been real bad.
yeah. Um, I think Hera is super cool from like a design perspective, and if
Yeah,
you like the show Star Wars Rebels,
really.
so I was a bit disappointed that she didn't get a larger spot in the meta.
Yeah,
But
me too.
I think Palpatine has just become more and more relevant as we've seen more control, right?
Yes. Palpatine looks really strong, actually, and one of the decks that you seem to be able to run in any color as well. Like you can go pulp yellow,
True.
red, and blue, and I think, and actually, some people are having some success with double green.
Yeah, yeah,
Even though I think that one is probably the weakest, but
yeah,
Palpatine seems to be like a he is sort of the king of control, and
yeah.
he doesn't seem to. I don't think he's gonna go out of the meta.
Mm. The interesting thing with Palpatine, in my opinion, is that he's kind of in a tier for himself because we've seen like the hard control decks that all play vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of become one type of deck, but
Yeah,
Palp is kind of something in and of itself. It's just being able to take your opponent's best cards and turn them against them makes it so that you don't really have to play that many huge units.
yeah.
And
Yeah, he
you
puts a
could,
clock on the game, and if you like don't respond, like don't kill him before he can take one of your big guys, you can never play a big guy basically. And if
yeah,
you don't play big guys, you don't win in the end. So uh, he's very
yeah,
interesting, as you said, a different type of control.
yeah, definitely more. I feel like it's more unit based.
Yep,
Um,
a little bit like Krennic
yeah,
control. Like Krennic is the soft control of units, but
yeah,
and Palpatine is the hard control with units, which is why Krennic loses to Palpatine every time. But uh, uh,
hmm,
yeah,
yeah. I've actually on the topic on what we've been playing since last time. I haven't been playing much, but I have been toying a bit with some Palpatine lists.
yeah,
I I don't know if it was since last time, but we played. I played a yellow Palpatine.
that's true. That's true. We had some
Uh,
games.
that was a list that I got from a really good player. I think he now actually made a deck tech video with the main deck, the YouTube channel.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, he took down like a 3 store champs or something
yeah,
with
something
it.
like that. So definitely check out that video. And I also played some blue Palpatine. Uh, kind of very unit-based list actually. So blue is just to get a little bit more removal against aggro and to get the vigilances. And I feel like both Death Trooper and Regional Governor are really nice units to have in combination with the green package.
Yep.
But I feel like the king of that list uh, in the few games I tested was actually Escort Skiff on the topic of green cards.
Really?
Yeah, because when you play against aggro, being able to go 2 for 1 is so
Yeah,
good.
it's really good. Yeah, yeah.
And Escort Skiff can almost always do that if you have a green unit to enable the ambush.
Yep. Against aggro. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So that was kind of the reasoning, like wanting to start with maybe Colonel Yularen or Royal Guard, and then, or even like Super Laser Technician, just
Yeah.
being able to give escort skiff ambush.
Yeah, because they will not kill the technicians themselves.
Yeah,
So you can always like wait with killing it until
yeah,
after. So
yes. Okay, but I think we've kind of got a general impression of green. It's
yep.
I think when the game released, everyone said like, okay, this is the best color.
Yep.
You have to play green and then just pick something else, right?
Yeah.
But in later stages of the game, we've kind of seen that not be the case. Maybe pretty much every color is viable, but now in the later stage of set one meta, I feel like yellow has really been extremely popular, especially with yellow boba
Yeah.
and Han Solo decks.
Han Solo is for the most part using green as well.
Yeah,
To be fair, I still think it's the most versatile and like easiest color to like bring into your deck.
yeah,
I think maybe best. I'm not sure,
yeah.
but
Maybe like highest power level just from the single cards alone,
yeah,
or
exactly.
yeah,
Like there is some really like big cards like from this color, and with the release of Maul and stuff like that, I don't think
yeah,
uh, it looks to change with that part either. So I think it's going to be a relevant color still,
yeah,
even though other colors have actually gotten some love. Uh,
yeah,
so we'll see if the new heroes can like switch it to like a hero based, and you bring other colors in, or because that's what I would like to see, like a little bit more love in the hero department from green.
yeah. I mean, we have seen some of the greatest early game cards though, with like Battlefield Marine and Echo Based
Yes.
Defender, but
Yeah.
we'll get into that later. Um, One last comment on the color discussion. I saw that KTOD posted a video about yellow being the best, but I haven't watched that
Mm.
video yet.
Yeah, me
So
neither.
maybe it's gonna be interesting to see Bobby's opinions.
Yeah, it makes sense that he thinks that since he's been main decking yellow boba for a long time.
Yeah,
Uh, but
that's true.
I think yellow is really, really strong. Like you could definitely make an argument for it because, like,
Yeah,
with the Boba Fett leader, the unit,
yeah,
Boba Fett's fire spray,
yeah,
like there is some naughty cards in there, and like cunning
yeah,
is better than command.
yeah,
But
yeah. All right. I think we'll move on and kind of do a split where we first look at villainy and then heroism.
yes,
So, starting off with villainy, we have 4 leaders now. We're still missing Jabba the Hutt from Shadows of the Galaxy. We know that he's coming, but we haven't seen all the details spoiled.
I would assume he'd be yellow, right?
No, we know he's green actually.
Ah, really? Oh, sick.
Yes. We know
Oh,
he's green. We know he has 12 health, but we don't know
oh,
when he deploys, and we don't know anything else.
yeah, that makes
But
sense.
probably see him in the next weeks coming up to the release. Okay, so right now we have Emperor Palpatine, Grand Moff Tarkin, Hondo Onaka, and Moff Gideon.
Right.
What do you think about those?
Um, like I think Tarkin is still bad, obviously, and I still think Palpatine is really good. I think that Moff Tarkin comes out at turn 5 and has 6 HP, which is
Yeah.
definitely interesting because it's outside of takedown range. Plus, you don't get insta killed by a rival's fall or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Um, that is like a stat line that's pretty interesting. I think also being able to push overwhelm. I know it's like a
Hmm.
conditional thing, could be
Yeah.
something good. I'm not entirely sure yet, uh, and so he could be good.
Yeah.
And I think Hondo could be good as well because depending on how good Smuggle works in green and stuff, because
Yeah.
Smuggle is a really good keyword, uh, and like giving experience tokens based on playing that could be solid. Um,
Yeah. Definitely.
how about you?
Um, I think I hope Jabba is gonna be good. I feel like Hondo and Moff are okay, but not like for competitive play.
Yeah,
Um, I really wish, from a design space, that Moff's leader action would also give overwhelm, because on the flip side he gives +1 and overwhelm, and
yeah,
my brain always forgets that point, so I kind of want them to be the same. I know I'm gonna mess that up a couple of times, but I think Tarkin was like a really good limited leader, right, for
yeah,
sealed and draft.
yeah.
And I think Hondo might be the same.
True.
That's a pretty interesting thing with Shadows of the Galaxy, is that we see much more synergy focused cards. So I think in a limited format, it's going to be more fun and interesting to actually focus on like the archetypes, compared to Spark of the Rebellion, where you just pick the best cards. But here you could actually try to go for a smuggle oriented thing, or if you got Bosk, you can focus more on bounties, or Underworld with Cad Bane, right? I
Yeah,
think it's gonna be really fun for limited.
true. Like a lot of the heroes in this set so far has been looking like this looks good in limited, but does it push out the competitive leaders we have today?
Yeah,
Probably not.
yeah. We're gonna get back to that with the newest spoiler, Han Solo, but
Yeah, yeah. He might. He might.
might be a contender.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the leaders.
Yeah.
Then we have, mm, here I see 23 other cards right now that are villainy in green.
Hmm.
Um, Vader, of course, is worth mentioning. He's like the most expensive card from Spark of Rebellion, so obviously good.
Yeah, getting some competition on his slot though with Maul. Uh,
Yes. So they are quite similar.
yes, uh, like I think many will just run Maul because he's cheaper
Yeah.
and potentially is also just better. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, depends on
Ins-
how good the overwhelm will do. Like if you play mid range, the overwhelm is gonna be quite nasty. If you play more on the control side, he is really strong. I think I was gonna say, or if I've already said it, we'll see. That stat line is like a steadfast battalion, right? Just running into you, uh,
yeah.
which means that even at like if you faced green boba before, basically at turn
Mm.
7, you could like see that you could protect you from damage and stuff. But here, like if you put down a sentinel, Maul comes in and he will still do 4 damage to base probably.
Yeah.
So you're not safe. Uh,
That's true.
like even if you have 4 HP, sometimes you're not even safe with 5 HP if you have a low guy
Yeah.
still hanging around, um, which makes
Yeah.
I think he is very interesting, and I think He could be a card that puts like Green Boba back on top again.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see what people cook up for the Green Boba list. It's
Yeah,
uh, I'm a little bit tired of Yellow Boba, so maybe it will
me
be
too.
fun seeing the resurrection of Green, but we will see. Um, okay, so that's some really solid, more expensive units,
Yeah,
but I would say that Green Villainy maybe has one of the best draft cards for set one as well. Overwhelming Barrage.
yeah. It's not only good in draft,
Yeah,
but yeah, that card is really really good. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I remember when I started out playing Star Wars. I of course tried the starting kit and just was blown away by this card and thought, okay, I need 3 copies of this in every deck I can have it in.
yeah,
But in in hindsight, I realized, okay, this card is good if you have a unit or you need a unit, and
yeah,
uh, preferably a unit with maybe 4 or more power.
yeah. Preferably.
So you can maybe take out 2 smaller units, and that's amazing, but you can't always guarantee that.
No, you cannot. Even though it's what would you say? Like it's one of the few removal cards in a green.
Yeah,
They only have like that and strike true and command itself.
yeah,
Uh, so it's a very important card for green if you like in just in general, at least for villain side. Um,
yeah,
and it really dominated the meta early. Like everything was like people were so complaining about the overwhelming barrage.
yeah,
But I think people have learned a little bit to play around it, like take initiative earlier and stuff like that. Just you have to sacrifice a little bit to play around it, but you can. So,
yeah.
but definitely a good card still.
And looking at the events, that actually reminds me of one thing that I think is really cool with Command Villainy, and that's being able to counter hard control with Relentless and Emperor's Legion.
Yeah,
So, for
those
those
cards
who
are really
haven't
nice.
heard about that, how does that work?
Hmm. So the counter, if we start with just relentless, it's basically you cancel the first event card played, which forces your opponent to play 2 event cards or at least take 2 actions before they can deal with anything on board, which gives you more time to uh, continue your own game plan basically. um, then you have the Emperor's Legion, which returns each unit in your discard pile that was defeated this phase to your hand. So all blue control decks run Super Laser Blast, which means you can you can play a lot more loose if you own the Emperor's Legion, because then you know you can redraw the cards after they've
Yeah,
been wiped out, and you still have 6 resources to redeploy some units
yeah,
basically on board
that's
and
really
put new
nice.
pressure.
And even if you play it just to get that Relentless back, it could actually be
Yeah.
worth it at the end of the game.
Yep.
And now we have a new card that's going to enable you to do this, Palpatine's Return,
Yeah.
right? Because that essentially lets you do the same thing. It lets you replay your Relentless. And this time you don't need to keep 2 resources up to make sure that you can kind of respond to the opponent's removal. Palpatine's Return just says play unit from your discard pile, it costs 6 less. So even if your opponent discards your Relentless with Vigilance, if you have a Palpatine's Return in hand, you can get it back.
Yeah. Uh,
So it might actually replace kind of that spot Emperor's Legion had in the sideboard to kind of beat those mill decks.
Yep, could do, because you can also use it, like you could also main deck it if you have like a bit of a force approach in your
Yes.
deck,
Yeah.
which I hope is possible. I feel like, because I would
Yeah.
like to play more force units, not necessarily because I want just Palpatine's return to be awesome, but but like
Yeah.
playing Maul 2 cheaper, or like the Palpatine the 8 cost himself, like
Yeah.
those moves are there is some like really game breaking moves there. So
Yeah.
I think this one could be like really good, like even in Green Boba, like you play Maul, he dies, you play for Palpatine's return, and he comes out again and smack you around for another turn.
True.
Um,
That could be like a finishing move.
yeah.
Get that last damage in. And if you guys haven't seen, Adam and I posted a video to the Nordic Takedown YouTube channel where Adam played a green Kylo list, and there you went for a little bit of a force package with
Yes.
Palpatine's return. So I think that could be interesting, and also Grand Inquisitor. This looks really nice in,
Yeah. Yes.
because he's also force.
True. 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 Shall we move on to heroes?
Yes, let's do it. One last comment on the topic of countering control with
Yep.
the green villainy. Endless Legions. I think that's actually going to maybe see some sideboard play, because in a control game it's gonna take forever. So you might actually be able to get up to 14 resources, or 16 if it's out of aspect.
Yeah.
I I'm not sure about this, but it's just like it could happen. And then when you Endless Legions let you reveal your resources and play units from them for free. And then if you have a Relentless there, then you're kind of safe, right, against that Super Laser Blast.
Yeah.
And you might have a Finalizer that's also in green villainy to take all of your opponent's units away.
Yep.
So could I mean, your opponent is not gonna have many units, but maybe like an Avenger or something.
I think
So
some decks are gonna run like Endless Legion one off,
yeah,
and maybe some in sideboard. Depends on how good double green will be to like actually play the control side.
yeah. All right, let's move on. Heroism. What does it do differently? Let me look up the leaders. We have Hera, Leia, and then we have two new leaders, Boba Fett and Hunter.
Yeah. So basically, we have what I think two bad ones with Hera and Hunter, uh, and we have a mediocre one in Leia, and we have a new one, Boba Fett, with a lot of potential, I would say.
Yeah,
Uh, like he has the he still has 4/7 stat line, like Boba from villain side. We've seen that's
yeah,
good. He obviously comes in one turn later, which is worse.
yeah,
But I feel like he is pretty strong. I've not tested a lot, but I this keyword thing that has going on, and the like the cards he enables
yeah.
for a hero seems pretty good.
Yes, I agree. I feel like leaders that give just passive value without you actually spending any actions
Yeah.
are nice,
Yes.
because they're just gonna give you value regardless, and you don't really have to lose tempo, or they don't necessarily have to be that situational where you actually need to be able to use the action and so on and so forth. Like
Basically, Krennic
keywords,
style.
yeah, keywords is just so easy to build around.
Yeah.
Sentinel, shielded,
Overwhelm.
ambush,
Yeah.
overwhelm, and now even with smuggle, that's also a keyword actually. So
Yes, and it's a pretty good keyword,
yeah,
I would say.
and then Leia, um, I don't know. I think maybe she's a bit underrated. I feel like the problem is she relies on the rebel trait, right?
Yeah.
That kind of limits your deck building choices,
Yes.
and especially moving forward, if we're going to see a lot of new great cards that aren't
Isn't
rebels.
rebel. Yeah.
Yeah,
She might be like reaching an expiration date just by that.
yeah,
How much more rebel will they play?
yeah.
Uh,
But you could also kind of flip it on its head and say, the more rebels we see, the better she'll become.
yeah, exactly.
Because
Like I
she
think,
only needs 50 cards in the deck, right?
yeah, I actually think the newly released General Rakan
Yeah,
looks interesting. Uh,
yeah. Being able to give Sentinel.
yeah, also giving like he gives experience tokens, right? And he has a pretty decent stat line. Uh,
Yeah,
so maybe we could find a way to play Leia a little bit more mid range and
yeah,
not aggro, because I
yeah,
think that she might not, like, there are other leaders doing that better, I guess,
yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
yeah. I think that's a takeaway with aggro is that you kind of need to be as fast as possible.
Yeah,
So you can't really be sacrificing anything there. The only reason I kind of looked at Leia quite a lot in the beginning was because she could play Tarkin Town, and I felt like that was really, really nice. Um, I really enjoyed that base, but Green Sabine with Steadfast Battalion was
yeah,
just too
and
good.
indeed, I think Tarkentown is really really good. Like you can see it in people playing Shirit with Tarkentown, like red.
Yeah,
That is really strong, but like Leia is obviously a good deck. You can do
yeah,
well with her. You can reach top cuts. You may even win tournaments locally.
yeah,
Uh, so she's not bad. Her ability to action sheet is really strong,
yeah,
uh, but she has not reached the high heights.
yeah. I don't think we have to spend that much time on Hunter.
No,
He's a 7 cost 5/8 with a ability that really conditionally lets you get some card advantage.
yeah,
So
it's definitely fringe.
definitely fridge. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to units. I think as we mentioned at the beginning, Command just has really great units. Looking at
Yeah,
this, Battlefield Marine, Admiral Akbar, Echo Base Defender, Bright Hope,
yeah,
Home One. Ah, so many good ones.
yeah. I think the only one, like, I think that you mentioned there is sort of average is probably Echo Based Defender, because
Yeah.
he's a defender with only 3 HP. So, but he hurts like hell if people can't
Yeah.
can't get rid of
Like
him or don't want to.
that kind of says something about like the power level of green decks that people stopped playing Echo Based Defender
Yeah,
in some lists, and people still play Cell Block Guard. That's a 3/3 4/3.
yeah,
Echo Base is like strictly better than that card,
true, true.
yeah. For instance, Green Sabine lists kind of everyone played it in the beginning, but then they realized, okay, the 3 health makes it kind of vulnerable. We would rather be more flexible on curve. We have R2 in there, and I don't remember what other cards kind of stole that slot, but
But yeah,
the
yeah,
Fighters
I,
of Freedom are really nice.
precis. Aggro does not benefit as much for it, because
Yeah,
it gets easily traded.
yeah,
Uh, uh,
yes,
and of course, they still have some really good events, with Rebel Assault and Ewing reinforcements.
yeah.
Like
Like
both of them are nuts.
that's two crazy cards right there. I think Ewing is one of the best events from set one. Like Ewing
Yeah,
reinforcement alone kind of made a standard for green decks. Like if you play green hero, you have to consider his card, and you have to consider building your deck around this card.
Yes, I think
Like
it's amazing. Also, like we mentioned, some cards, like some of the best in the game. Like I think it's the card that makes Green Hero relevant. You know.
yeah,
Uh,
we have to mention Han, of course, being able
yeah.
to resupply and then double ramp with this ability, playing U-Wing on turn 3. That's
Yeah.
just a crazy swing right there.
Uh,
And
so yeah, and that is that's a strength of Han, but it's also like a power that it's Ewing that you really want to do in most of the
yeah,
matchups. It's not
yeah,
playing like a 7-drop necessarily always, even though
yeah,
that is good. uh, but like just swarming the board is also like with units that
yeah,
an opponent can only play like one of at that turn.
yeah.
Uh,
Like when I see a heroic leader now, I always think, can I put a green base on this leader and just play U-Wing
Ewing,
and
yeah,
home one? Like
yeah,
that just gives you such a great late game that you kind of
yes.
actually have to look into that possibility and see, is this going to be good, and are other colors going to be able to beat it?
Yeah, I agree fully.
Yeah. So with new cards, we have I think the best card is probably Spark of Hope because it's ramp, and
Yeah, I
ramp
like that
is
card. Yeah,
amazing. So
I
Spark
know
of Hope,
everyone doesn't really love it, but I think it's like a better suppletion technician for sure.
yeah,
Like that's what it is for me. Not as good as
yeah,
resupply, but like
yeah.
but very very good.
Resupply is the best because it's not conditional. You always get the ramp, but with Super Laser Technician, if your opponent doesn't defeat it, you can't do anything about that. And with Spark of Hope, you need to defeat one of your own units.
Yeah,
So kind of the same mechanic there, but the good thing is that it's not as telegraphed, right?
yeah,
If you play Super Laser Technician, your opponent can decide not to play something in that arena if they don't have any unit there
yeah.
already.
If you have a unit on board with Spark of Hope, they have to either like guess that you have it or
Yeah,
play around, and you might not have it, and then you just get free damage instead.
yeah.
Uh,
And often in the early game, you're trading units.
yes,
So, okay, they might go face, but then you can trade, sacrificing your unit and ramp.
especially if you play mid range, which you usually do as a ramper
Yeah,
player. You definitely just want to trade. Uh,
yeah,
so completely agree.
yeah. So that's really good from the new cards. And I think Sundari Peacekeeper is a card we've
Yes,
already talked about that looks really solid.
I like that one. Yeah,
Um,
and I
Rule with
think
Respect is very interesting. I think when it first released, I was like, oh, is this going to be the new aggro counter? But now, later thinking about it, I don't think it's that great.
yeah, the legendary card, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not too psyched about that yet. It could be good, but
yeah,
I'm not sure yet. I do think modded cohort though, with the ambush
yes,
and raid 2 for 4 cost makes it way more fun to drop 4 costs
yeah,
for any color.
yeah. And just to go on a small rant, as we've done the last episodes,
Yeah,
what's going on with yellow villainy being so good? Like, look at modded cohort 2
yeah,
4, ambush, raid 2.
yes,
And then yellow villainy comes out of nowhere, 4 Lom. He's a
yeah,
4/4 for 4 with ambush.
yeah.
But, and he's
Also
an
underworld,
uncommon.
right? Yeah,
Yes, and he has a flip side that he can buff another card
yeah.
that he really works well with. Yeah, so I guess you could argue that modded cohort is supposed to kind of work with Ray with the 2 power, but
Yeah,
that's a
or
stretch.
and also kind of work with the new boba because When you
Yes,
play
but
her, she
Forlam
gets.
has ambush as well, right?
Yeah, but here you get, like, with the ambush, you get, because the new Boba +1, so you will
Yeah,
get 5, so she becomes a 5/4 with him,
yeah,
which will. Uh, but I still agree with you. But like, you could make those arguments that they are
yeah,
balancing it around like leaders,
yeah,
to not be mega abused, because
yeah,
hero leaders are more tricky, have more tricks, I would say,
yeah,
than the villain ones, and the villains are more stat based, which means they need more stats based cards basically
yeah.
to follow. So
Ooh, I see as we speak, a new command villain card has been spoiled.
all right, tell me about it.
Um, it's a 5 cost underworld ground unit called Effent Mon. It's a unique unit. It has 4 power, 6 health, and on attack, choose an enemy non-leader unit that attacked your base this phase. So quite conditional.
Yeah.
Your opponent has to attack your base with a non-leader unit, and then you have to attack with this Effent Mon. And then it says a friendly unit in the same arena captures that unit.
So you also then need to have another friendly unit to this guy.
It doesn't say another, so just a
Okay.
friendly.
Okay. Yeah.
So you could capture things with Effentmon.
Yeah.
To be honest, this looks pretty solid. Like 5 cost, 4/6, not the worst.
Yeah.
And your opponent doesn't really want to attack your base when you have this out on the board, right? Because then you can attack their base with Effentmon and just capture that unit.
Yeah. I
And you
agree.
can continuously capture units. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think the only problem I have with him is that he has no when played effect. We have
Yeah.
seen those cards. Like, you get out, get removed, like Obi-Wan, and you lose the game.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think he's gonna be that bad, but that is always a risk when everything is on, on an attack ability, because you have
Yeah.
to time it a little bit. Uh,
That's true.
but he
I
could be good.
I agree. At higher cost, you always want the cards to have an impact, but it's in command. So one card that we haven't mentioned yet, that's from the new set, is timely intervention. So now you can just for one
Yeah,
resource give units ambush, and so that might be pretty nice with this card, being able to kind of surprise your opponent and capture one of their units.
yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it looks like an okay card. Um, I think we have covered heroism pretty well.
Yeah,
Last thing on our agenda was to talk a bit about decks in green. I think
yeah,
we have managed to do that pretty well just talking about the green leaders, but what
agreed.
other leaders have really utilized green?
Outside of the
Yeah,
green leaders, I think Boba in the beginning, of course,
yeah,
together with Sabine,
yes,
and then I would also say like Krennic and the Han Solo, of course. That
yeah,
is the biggest benefactors. But I'd say that most leaders have been tried to be paired with green.
yeah.
Those I mentioned there is just the ones that got most
The
success,
best,
I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of realized that also when I asked you the question and started thinking, I'm like, every leader, right?
Yeah.
You can just slap a green base and that's gonna be good. Okay, so then I think we have managed to fill the episode quite well. So we will just deliver on our promise and talk about the Han Solo leader before we wrap up.
Yeah, of
That
course.
just
Yeah.
got spoiled.
That we have to get dirty with. Uh, I think it's a really good card. What do you think? Or a card leader?
Yeah. He's in aggression, heroism, so not cunning anymore.
Yep.
It's kind of the younger Han Solo style,
Yeah.
and he looks pretty good. He's he flips on 5 resources, a 3/6 with Underworld, and on both sides he has the same action, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he can play a unit from hand. It costs 1 resource less, but you have to deal 2 damage to it.
Yeah, the only difference is when he is deployed, he can do it multiple times because it's just an action. He doesn't have
Oh
to tap.
yeah,
So if you want to play a lot of wieners, basically, you can do that multiple
that's
units.
actually very interesting that you mentioned, because we've seen on many units or many leaders that have this action ability, it says you can only use this once per
Yeah,
turn, but Han doesn't have that, so that's pretty nice. And it's great that the action on the leader side doesn't cost anything. I mean, that would be
yeah,
weird paying to get a reduction, but it could
yeah,
be like pay 1 to get 2 less.
yeah,
Could be something. So just exhaust.
yeah.
Hmm.
He
I think.
is good, but do you feel the same? You have played a lot of Han. It feels like he's just doing kind of the same thing, but just with a different cost, like the old Han. The old
True.
Han gets like discount by discarding a card, basically, and this
Yeah.
guy is just getting discounts.
True.
Like it might be even better. Like he trades
Yeah.
some damage, but like might be
Yeah.
better.
I actually hadn't thought about it kind of being a bit similar to the other hand, but I think a big difference is that it's only units. So, for instance,
Yeah,
you can't get a discount on U-wing reinforcements. Um, but I definitely need to look into units in red and, of course, other colors that would work well with this combo. Like one thing that comes to mind is grit.
yeah,
Damage on those units can be nice.
yeah. And like what he also doesn't have is like he cannot double discount like for the one big turn
Yeah,
that Green
yeah,
Han can, but
yeah,
this guy can like the thing with this guy is like you could basically run a deck without 2 drops
yeah,
and just go harder on 3 drops, which are generally stronger units.
yeah.
uh,
I think that's gonna be pretty good actually, because one thing that's bad about having to put so many 2 drops in the deck is in the late game when you're drawing them, it
yeah,
feels horrible.
yes,
3 cost units are just so much better. Like if you run, let's say, 6 resources playing 2 3 costs, that's not too bad.
yeah. So I think that that is very interesting. So I think that is one avenue I will try to explore with him, at least the first.
Yeah, yeah,
And then we'll see where it goes. Might still not outshine old Han, so but he could be a better version. Just getting discounts instead of discarding cards could be like discarding cards are really rough in this game, and there are some more hand disruption things coming in.
yeah.
So this guy is more safer and easier to your hand, at least.
That's true. All right. We of course have so many more spoilers, but we're gonna save some for the next episode where we're gonna talk about. It's gonna be, let me think, aggression.
Ooh,
That's
that
the
sounds
next one
nice.
in order.
And we will also
Yes.
talk a little bit about probably about the Oslo store showdown then, the last one in the Nordics, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be great. It's on
Yeah,
Saturday, the 22nd, at Outland Oslo. So feel free to stop by.
yeah,
All
cool.
right. Um, that's it for this one. Thanks for listening, and of course, like and rate the podcast
Ooh,
wherever you
yeah,
listen, and check
and then
out
share
the
and
Patreon.
subscribe.
Yeah, great. See you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah, bye.